Right, so once the Green Party leadership campaign headlines have been dominated by the plain-speaking, policy-laden campaign and associated support for Zack Polanski, there will of course be a deputy leader or leaders, depending on how many party leaders we end up with. And with the brilliant Mothin Ali, the hero of Gipton and Harehills, having thrown his flatcap into the race, the right-wing media have had a meltdown because Ali is Muslim. It doesn't matter that he's got a Yorkshire accent so thick he could pass himself off as one of the Tetley tea folk. We can't have a Muslim leader. Who are we going to scapegoat for all of the ills of the world in our rancid publications and right-wing offensive TV programmes? So the media have come for him already, the rancid right-wing media. He's no stranger to it, though. He's dealt with Stephen Yaxley Lennon, a.k.a. Tommy 10 Names. He's even had Elon Musk come after him. But if he were to be elected, and Polanski too, the Green Party would have a Jewish leader from Salford and a Muslim deputy from Leeds, both calling out Israel over Gaza, both working in the interests of ordinary working class people. And if those aren't British values to you, then, well, you're the one with the problem, aren't you?
This strange, in my view, a man who's strayed into out and out anti-Semitism figure is the councillor for Harehills in Leeds. For those people who don't know anything about Harehills, it is ground zero for the problems that our society is facing. This was where they had the riots last year. This is a broken, divided community. And the Green Party are sensing an opportunity. They know Keir Starmer's weak there, and they would like a big chunk of Labour's inner city vote, and they are not afraid to get into bed with the devil if that gets them there.
Yeah, I happen to agree with you. If you just look at the local elections, they secured 5% of the vote. Their actual seat share shot up, and it was all because they went after this vote, and they like you said, they took it off the Labour Party. They took it out of the inner cities, and it really did work for them. I've always believed that the left is actually going to be the thing that brings down the Labour Party more than the right will. What I always say is a south part over a right hook. But it's quite interesting. Chloe, I want to bring you in on this because this is a real kind of moment, I think, in our politics where we have to start standing up for our values. We have to start defending ourselves and believing in ourselves again. Where did we all go wrong in terms of just believing we're the bad guys in every situation? Because it's that has given rise to this lot.
Well, where did it all go wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a difficult,
How long have we got?
it's a difficult question. I mean, we see it at universities. We see it being a consequence of mass migration. If you've got people coming this country who are either immigrants or second-generation immigrants, they're not going to be as loyal to this country as your typical Brit. And I think there's just been this ideology just spread everywhere that the West is evil. And I think it's absolutely crazy that you've got MPs like Tahir Ali, for example, not someone joining the Green Party yet.
Right, so that was a snippet there from Talk TV. Apologies for confronting you with such a thing. Apologies for not issuing some kind of a warning ahead of that. But Mothin Ali being a Muslim and then being horrified at him running for Green Party deputy is now what passes for headline news, it seems, on Rupert Murdoch TV. It was, as I'm sure you'll agree, a relentless smear campaign of a segment not only distorting the truth, but also weaponising racism, Islamophobia and xenophobia to discredit a candidate whose only real crime is representing real hope and authentic British values for working class people. This condemnation of Ali, fronted by right-wing frothers, political commentators like Peter C. Barnes and Chloe Dobbs there, was an amplified attack by media apparatus with an agenda to uphold the status quo. It's not just a political hit job, it's a complete moral failing. But when does anything Rupert Murdoch's name is attached to ever been troubled by something like morality? The smears against Ali are part of a broader effort to delegitimise any political force that dares to challenge the broken neoliberal consensus that governs Britain today. And just as we saw with the anti-Semitism scam that brought down Jeremy Corbyn, accusations of racism or justifying racism, as it is at least in part the case here too, are the weapon of choice. In doing so, they target not just Mothin Ali, but the communities he represents and the values that he embodies. Talk TV's coverage of Mothin Ali there was nothing short of disgraceful. In one particularly egregious bit, political strategist Sam Armstrong, who once served as Robert Jenrick's head of communications during his ill-fated Tory leadership campaign, suggested that the Green Party had done a deal with the devil in backing Ali's candidacy. All this from a guy whose own political judgment was clearly lacking given Gendrick's political trajectory, implying that Ali's identity is synonymous with malevolence, and again drew attention to the riots in Harehills last year, the implication being that somehow that was Ali's fault too. This was not a show of political analysis, it was a blatant attack. It was little more than a thinly veiled, grubby little Islamophobic attack, in my view. Chloe Dobbs added fuel to the fire as well by questioning the loyalty of first and second generation migrants in light of this story to the UK. And that's the sort of rhetoric that's not only unfounded, but deeply offensive. It propagates this notion that British identity is reserved for a select few, that you only have it if you are seen as indigenous to these islands, all despite the immense contributions of migrant communities to the fabric of this nation, not least to bodies like the NHS, which would have collapsed years ago without migrant labour, as one prominent example. Dobbs didn't stop there, though. She dragged Muslim Labour MP Tahir Ali into the fray towards the end of that clip, simply to double down seemingly on her racist insinuations. Such tactics are designed to isolate and alienate and vilify Muslims in public life. And Barnes himself was no better, asking, where did we go wrong to end up with this lot? Which is little more than a thinly disguised swipe at the Green Party and its Muslim candidates. It's not subtle, certainly not clever. It is racism, broadcast live allegedly as informative programming. What Talk TV and its ilk fail to acknowledge or deliberately ignore is who Mothin Ali actually is. So if you're not familiar with the guy, then watch this.
Brother, leave him alone.
This is our neighbourhood.
So one of the really important things to me is to try and live a sustainable lifestyle, to try and live a way that we take our resources that aren't infinite and we use them sensibly. And that's one of the things that I've been doing in my community. We've been trying to build community gardens. I've worked with a number of projects across the UK as well as internationally as well. On one project that's really dear to my heart, I consulted on a community garden, a rooftop garden in Gaza, and people were using the limited resources there to build a sustainable food-growing system. And I gave them some really good ideas, especially around using wastewater and how to make a water garden and use that to grow food. The political climate in Britain at the moment is becoming really toxic. We have the rise of the far right, we have the rise of people like For Reform, we have organisations that are trying to misguide people. Right now, we have to be the party that offers people hope. We have to be the party that offers people an alternative, because so many people out there are struggling and they're falling for those typical far right talking points where they blame immigrants, they blame migrants, they blame people who look slightly different to them. But we're not different. We're people in this country, we're people that are united, we're a community. We need to return to that social fabric and build our communities from the bottom up, and we need to provide a political home for disillusioned voters, people who are fed up of the two-party system, people who are fed up of the likes of Labour, people who are fed up of the likes of the Tories, continuously breaking promise after promise after promise, and we've got to give them that choice at the ballot box. We've got to be the party that will stand up for ordinary people, stand up for working people, and give them real hope. Right behind me you can see the house that I grew up in, and these kind of areas were just left behind. You know, the authorities just didn't care, and we've got to make sure that these communities aren't left behind. Inner city areas across the UK, working class communities, council estates across the UK, people can't be left behind because these people matter. We matter. This is the area that we broke through in last year in Gipton and Harehills. This was a Labour stronghold. For 17 years we unseated a sitting councillor because we gave them hope, we gave them an alternative, we gave them something to believe in. And that's why I spend most of my time in this community, giving people a message of hope. I'm out here, people have my personal mobile number, people can know where to get hold of me. I hold regular surgeries all around this area because I care about this community. And because communities like this matter, we need to take these with us. On our journey, we need to make sure that these people aren't left behind because they're our people.
Ali is Leeds through and through. In Gipton and Harehills, he has been a consistent hands-on presence. When the riots broke out in Harehills last year, as you saw in the beginning of that clip, Ali was not a participant. He was on the front line confronting those driving the violence and physically intervening to stop it. When many politicians can you think of that would do such a thing? They'd all be hiding behind closed doors, wouldn't they? Behind gates, Keir Starmer? According to him, this is what councillors are supposed to do, referencing that night where he rolled up his sleeves to de-escalate the chaos. Despite his courage and leadership, right-wing pundits and far-right agitators like Stephen Yaxley Lennon, aka Tommy 10 Names, and even Elon Musk himself have attempted to frame him as a rioter or tried to link him to grooming gangs in their bottom-feeding racism. Yet in the face of these attacks, Ali remains steadfast. He has spoken candidly about the torrent of hate he has received since becoming a councillor, saying that nothing could have prepared me for the hate. He's also received death threats. None of this has deterred him from serving his community, though. Through garden projects that you saw him speaking about there, it's something very close to his heart. Ali actually has a YouTube channel called My Family Garden, 56,000 subscribers. Frankly, he deserves a lot more. Yet now he's stepping forward to seek a national role in shaping progressive politics in the UK. Ali's decision to run for deputy leader of the Green Party is no political stunt. It's just a natural extension of his community work and a bid to bring underrepresented voices to the national stage. His endorsement of Zack Polanski, a Jewish candidate for Green Party leader, is a testament to the inclusive intersectional vision that he holds. That the Green Party could soon be led by a Jewish leader and a Muslim deputy is a powerful rebuke to the false narrative of division being spun by the right wing, and would be representative of British society and British values, because we are a multicultural nation, and this inward-looking white supremacist attitude of some completely out of step with the UK today. Why are some people so afraid of becoming a minority themselves in this country, perhaps? Because I can only assume it is because of how they treat other minorities that such an idea scares them so much. Indeed, both Ali and Polanski have faced abuse that underscores the very racism and prejudice their opponents seek to deny. Polanski has been accused of being a Zionist simply because he's Jewish, an accusation he has firmly refuted. Just as Polanski is not a Zionist, Ali is not a rioter. Both men are public servants, victims of a political and media culture that seeks to destroy rather than debate. And what really scares these people is what they stand for, and that's real, meaningful change. The campaign against Mothin Ali is emblematic of how right-wing media weaponises identity to distract from systemic failures. Instead of addressing why parties like Labour have lost ground in areas that were once heartlands like Gipton and Harehills, Talk TV chooses to scapegoat those stepping in to fill the void. It was Armstrong's assertion that the Greens have sensed Labour are weak and thus aligned with a Muslim candidate that just reeks of paranoia and racialised fearmongering. The Green Party's rise in Leeds is not because of any deal with the devil, but because ordinary people are tired of being ignored. They're tired of living under a system that prioritises profit over people, war over welfare, and division over unity. If British values mean anything, they must include fairness, equality, and decency. So by these standards, Mothin Ali represents the very best of Britain. His actions during the Harehills riots demonstrate civic courage. His record as a councillor shows a commitment to social justice. His campaign for deputy leader is grounded in hope, not hate. You can contrast that with Talk TV's behaviour, twisting facts, amplifying far-right voices, and giving a platform to those who question the basic humanity and patriotism of British Muslims. That's not journalism, it's propaganda. The Green Party has not remained silent either. Polanski and other party leaders have condemned the defamatory attacks, defended Ali's integrity, and reaffirmed their commitment to inclusive politics. The party has stood firm in its support, showing that a different kind of politics is possible, one grounded in solidarity and not scapegoating. This is about more than just Mothin Ali. It is about the kind of country we want to be. Do we allow our discourse to be poisoned by those who fear change and weaponise identity to distract from nothing ever getting better in our lives? Those with large platforms at that, abusing that, just to maintain the status quo? Or do we choose to amplify voices that speak for the marginalised, challenge that injustice, and work to create a fairer society for all of us? The attacks on Mothin Ali are a test for frankly all of us, voters, viewers, citizens alike. They test our willingness to think critically, to seek truth amidst noise, and to stand with those who are unfairly maligned. We as a nation fell for this once with Jeremy Corbyn, so let's not fail the test again. Let us meet that test, not by retreating into cynicism, but by engaging in the conversation and building a politics that reflects the best of who we are. Mothin Ali deserves our support, not in spite of his identity, but because of what he represents. The courage to serve, the strength to endure, and the vision to lead. And in the face of coordinated smear campaigns, that kind of leadership is exactly what Britain needs. And so just as I've given my endorsement as a Green Party member and a councillor to Zack Polanski, I'm also giving it to Mothin Ali. If you join the Green Party before the end of July, so can you. Zack Polanski has also faced his share of abuse too. The insurgent candidate for change to take the Green Party forwards as a national challenge to reform UK, as the likes of Labour and the Tories tried to copy Farage's outfit instead. So get all the details of that story in this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe if you haven't done so already, so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content, as well as spreading the word and helping to support the channel at the very same time, which is very much appreciated. Holding power to account for ordinary working class people, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers folks.